Hello and welcome to the championship final, the Fukuoka Championships Wave 2 and OP09. My name is Jake. You can also call me Atrocious. So excited to get into this one. This is going to be an exciting one. You already know the matchup of Marshall D. Teach and Doflamingo, a rematch that we have from last tournament, right? We saw that matchup happen in the last tournament and Teach absolutely dominated, if my memory is correct. It really wasn't even close. Now, the Doflamingo was a little bit unlucky in its flips and whatnot off of leader effect, but we're going to see in this game if lightning can strike twice in the same place. If Marshall D. Teach Blackbeard is going to take the win over the Doflamingo and win another consecutive championship. Going to be really interesting, but if you're wondering how I'm watching this or if you don't want to listen to me at all, you can go check out the official live stream link in the description below. I've always got it there. And don't worry, we will show deck lists of both of the players, the exact deck lists in the video. And as well, the day that this video airs to everybody, I'm going to be finishing up a giveaway at the very end of the day, Friday the 15th. It's going to be for an OP09 booster box, courtesy of one of our sponsors, LA Gaming TCG. So if you want to get in that, highly recommend get in the description below, join our Discord server, and there will be a little instructions there on how to enter. It's very quick. It takes like 1 minute max, right? And that's if your internet is slow. So no more business talk. Let's just talk about the matchup. We've got Marshall D. Teach and Doflamingo. Marshall D. Teach Blackbeard, really a threat with this floodgate style effect. Can negate all on play abilities, and so we're going to see if Doflamingo, who primarily runs on play abilities, can power past it. Looking at the starting hand, you got an Edward Weevil there, a Jozu, which is a really nice card, I think that's Trafalgar Law there. No, that actually looks like a Jinbei, so Jinbei going to be very, very good. You also have Marshall D. Teach and Buggy in that hand, so Weevil, Buggy, Jozu, Jinbei, and Marshall D. Teach. That Marshall D. Teach does have an activate main, so it is going to be able to be used no matter if the Marshall D. Teach, or I should say the opposing Blackbeard leader, right, because they're both named Teach, uses that leader effect. And the Blackbeard's hand right here, you got a Liberation, which is a very, very good card. Finger Pistol, a nice EBO1 card that we see in this list. Jesus Burgess, Vasco Shot, and Doc Q. So very interesting starting hand for both players. Finger Pistol and Liberation, both really good event cards in this matchup. The Finger Gun or Finger Pistol KOing a 5 cost or less, while the Liberation KOs a 4 cost or less. So with Dofi primarily running 4 costs, right, it's going to be really easy for Blackbeard to get a couple of these knockouts. So Doflamingo is going first, which is, I think, kind of what it wants to do a lot of times. And we'll see if going first he can make some momentum happen. Gonna have to have some leader effects go off in order to get this going. But with the Buggy going first, is going to be able to reorder the top 5. Does find a Jinbei. I think planning on putting a Jinbei up top. The order going Jinbei, Weevil, and Trafalgar Law. Going to be drawing into a second Jinbei, which could be very, very nice. So is going to go in now, going to rest to immediately play this Doc Q. This Doc Q, when resting, does KO a cost of 1 or less if your leader is a Blackbeard Pirates type. That's an activate main right there. So does fit really well with that Blackbeard, and Blackbeard immediately pitching the Liberation, right? One thing that you want to do in this matchup specifically is use your leader effect as much as possible, because those Jinbeis in hand now can't help swarm the board. So gonna have to rely on the Marshall D. Teach. Going to be putting, what was it, the I can't remember what card they put back, but we'll see it in a second, because that Marshall D. Teach does put 2 Rested Dawn on the leader, and a Weevil is going to come out on the field. So playing down that Weevil doesn't get the draw, but is a 6,000 power leader. So we're going to see if the Marshall D. Teach, after taking that 7,000 power swing, is going to go ahead and use something like Finger Pistol did top deck a Laboon, I believe, off of the life. So at 4 Dawn, could go ahead, play this Laboon. We saw this in the last round, resting the Laboon with the Activate main, comboing that with the Dot Q, and KOing any 4 cost on the field. The Marshall D Teach is going to go ahead, swing 5, and take that life. A second Jozu getting in the hand, but going to 5 Dawn, the Jozu is not going to be able to help you in terms of this turn because, well, you're only at 5 and the Jozu is 6. Does have a Trafalgar Law, I believe, on the top of the deck at this point if they decide to use the leader effect. Is thinking about swinging the Marshall D Teach at the Dot Q. I do think that would be in his best interest, right? The Marshall D Teach would be able to get that knockout right there. You do want to get rid of that card. It's very pesky in this matchup, but is just going to go ahead and use the Doflamingo leader effect, not do anything else. Is going to go ahead, swing that 9,000 power, I'm sorry, at the Laboon and not use the Trafalgar Law effect. So leaving that Dot Q on the field, very interesting to me, really values that Marshall D Teach, right? The only reason that you wouldn't want to swing that Marshall D Teach into something like the Dot Q is because the Marshall D Teach is essential to your game plan at this point, right? Being able to play characters while also using the leader effect, right? Because you get that rested Dawn back. Makes a little bit of sense if you think about it a little bit. But the Blackbeard swinging 7,000 power, what looks like at the Trafalgar Law, trying to clear board a little bit. They are going to pitch 3 1Ks, so getting rid of just a ton of cards in hand. You don't really have 2Ks, but you need to keep this guy alive at this point. So we'll see with the rest of their Dawn. They still have 4 Dawn left. What they decide to do with it could play down a character, could see a Liberation come down onto the field. You could do a Jesus Burgess. That would be an interesting one. Could also do the Finger Gun. The Finger Gun would, again, be able to get the KO and also mill a couple cards for later playing the Jesus Burgess. So is going to go ahead, do that Liberation. The Liberation to get that KO on the Trafalgar Law. If your leader is the Blackbeard Pirates trait, nullify the effects up to one of your opponent's characters during this turn. Then if that character's cost is 4 or less, KO it. A great card for this matchup. And so now we go in again with the Doflamingo. No Jozus to play. We saw Jozus in the hand earlier, but them immediately pitched off of that swing into the Trafalgar Law. So we'll see exactly what he's got planned. Might go ahead and try to play a character, then use the Marshall D Teach effect to swing big at life. Both leaders sitting at 4 life each. Is thinking about going ahead and play that Dracul Mihawk. That Dracul Mihawk, even though it's a 2K, would be nice. I would say go ahead and play the Edward Weevil if you're going to do one, and then think about the rest as it goes. I believe no on play effects because pitching that Dot Q on the end of turn is going to go ahead, use that Marshall D Teach and swing 7. That 7,000 power swing is going to go ahead and take a life as it puts that Weevil down, and that Dracul Mihawk going on the field is going to go ahead and get a couple bodies down, which is going to be very nice. I feel like in this stage of the game could put on a little bit of pressure, but with Finger Gun might be taking out the Edward Weevil at first. Since you're at 8 Dawn, you could play a Weevil Burgess on the field, but maybe thinking about playing This Is My Time. That 1-drop event card is going to be able to find a Blackbeard Pirates card and then trash the rest of the cards that you've got. So could help you set up, maybe play like a little guy or something, but is going to go ahead, swing 8 at the Weevil, is going to get that knockout because only 1 card in hand, and is going to play This Is My Time. Going to find potentially the 10-drop Blackbeard, and you hate to see that if you're the Doflamingo. And with the rest of the Dawn right here, is going to go ahead, lay down for use Finger Gun or Finger Pistol. Is going to trash 2 cards, get 3 cards total on that play in the trash. Does have, I believe, 10 cards now in the trash, and so thinking about using the leader effect is going to pitch that Shiryu go to 11 cards in the trash, and again, no on play effects. So if you're the Marshall D Teacher, thinking about maybe preparing for OP09 on how to beat Doflamingo, arguably the deck to beat, this is a really great strategy of going ahead and starving, right? Having almost no cards in hand, almost no possibilities, you're going to be able to eventually put the board up with different characters and such, like the 10-drop Blackbeard in the next turn. And what is the Doflamingo going to do about it, right? So it's going to be really interesting to see how this game evolves and how this play continues to evolve. Maybe thinking about playing both the Jinbei and the Weevil, right? That would cost 8 Dawn together, and you can swing 7 at lead. Maybe thinking about that, but is going to instead attach for play the Boa Hancock. So the Boa Hancock's kind of nice because it requires an answer, right? You would leave it alone, it becomes a blocker immediately. So is going to go ahead play the Weevil, especially if you know what that top card is, right, in that Boa Hancock. This is not a bad play because not only do you get a 9,000 power swing, right, which is very good because you claimed a life. The Boa Hancock and Weevil provides 1,000 more power than what maybe I suggested at the beginning to then be able to play a little bit more aggressively if these characters can live, right? Because especially the 10 Dawn turn, you know that they've got the 10-drop Blackbeard in hand. Are they going to play it at this time? And it doesn't look like they will. Looks like they're going to continue focusing on the board, swinging 8 at that Boa. And so going to play that Von Augur. That Von Augur is going to go -3 on one of the characters with that activate main and then combo again with the Doc Q. We continue to see this Doc Q putting in work and really punishing, right? If that Doc Q was maybe KO'd by the Teach, I don't know, this may be a different story in the game. And ending it off with the Vasco shot. The Vasco shot going to be a nice 2-drop blocker, synergizes well with a lot of cards. You wouldn't think usually that a 2-drop blocker does well in decks, especially in this format, but specifically for Blackbeard, we've seen this Vasco shot in many of the Blackbeard matches put in so much work. It's been so interesting to see how this deck is just like vastly different than any of the other decks that we have in the game at this point. So now going into Doflamingo, both players at 10 Dawn. Doesn't have too many options to play, especially after pitching that Jesus Burgess off of the leader effect. So is going to have a hard time, only has 2 cards to work with right now. Probably going to go ahead and use the leader effect, maybe attaching 5 Dawn or so to be able to swing. Do you go for the Van Augur or do you go at life? That's the real question. Because as soon as maybe the Blackbeard hits 1 right life remaining, the 10-drop Blackbeard is going to come down and a big blocker is going to be standing in your way. So it's going to be really tough, I feel like, at some point. So is going ahead and putting some Dawn on, is going to go and use the leader effect, swing 7, the Jozu off the top. Not going to be something that hits the field. So just like we saw last time in this matchup, just whiffing the leader effect is going to put way less characters down on the field. So thinking about whether they want to take the life or block, is going to take the life. Maybe thinking about playing both of these characters down. And so is going to go ahead, play that Gecko, and just pass off the turn with 3 Dawn open. Just once again, being very adamant on keeping this Marshall D Teach card on the field, right? Not letting it get rested and potentially KO'd. Swinging into the Blackbeard turn, gonna swing use the resting effects, and once again, the Doc Q is going to continue putting in work. That Gecko Moira not doing anything in that turn is going to go ahead and take the life on that 5, and the 10-drop Blackbeard is going to come down, negate a character from swinging. That be the Marshall D Teach, right? And also the leader effect. So not only, I believe, can the Marshall D Teach use the effect? I'm sorry, I gotta read the Yu-Gi-Oh card. So the Marshall D Teach, according to the Blackbeard card, cannot use its activate main effect as well as not attack. So just a tough spot as the Doflamingo. You top deck the Jozu, which you do like to see, but anything you do with this Doflamingo is just going to go and get blocked. So honestly, if I was the Doflamingo, you might try for the flip, but because you don't know what it is, maybe it's better to just play out this Jinbei from the hand. Go ahead, just play the Jozu, just play the Jinbei, but looks like he's adamant on potentially using the leader effect. You guys can't see it, but I'm cutting it forwards. He's not taking a short amount of time to make this decision. Still plenty of time in this game though. There's still like 17.5 minutes in this round. He's gonna go ahead, swing 7 and use that leader effect. Is gonna be a buggy, so the buggy is coming down on the field. It can't really do anything because it's a 2000 power character. It's a heavy Dawn investment and is gonna rest what I believe is maybe 6 to put the Jozu on the field. This just looks like a tough matchup in my opinion, so much because of, you know, just not being able to play your on playback effects. The Sengoku's coming down, the Jozu's coming down, and now we move off the turn. Going into the Blackbeard, 2 Laboons and another 10-drop Blackbeard in hand. You play down the 10-drop Blackbeard, right? You smack that guy down. I don't know if you exactly care about the little 1-drops. Maybe swing the Von Augur over and just try to put pressure onto the Doflamingo, but getting 2 12,000 power blockers is going to be real tough. Decides to use the 5,000 power leader swing to KO the buggy. The Dot Q goes ahead and gets the Sengoku, and that Von Augur is going to go ahead and take that swing. Is going to go ahead, do that 10, make sure that the Jozu cannot attack, and we move on to the next turn as they trash another card from their hand. Absolutely crazy to see the clinic that the Blackbeard is playing right now. It's crazy to watch this deck in the different games, right? Because we've seen it a lot now in these OP09 tournaments, especially the last 2 tournaments, how you take a lot of life early and then you go in with the 10-drop Blackbeards and you like heavily stabilize in the game, right, as a 12,000 power blocker, and he just concedes right there. He says, you know what, I can't stop you in this attack, and I know that your 12,000 power characters are just going to swing out and get the game, and Blackbeard is our winner in this one. Another consecutive tournament that Blackbeard has won. And again, in my opinion, even though it was close, right, the Blackbeard having 1 life left, I feel like the Blackbeard really dominated, and that's kind of the big thing about this format as people have started to figure out Blackbeard, figure out what works with it, what the ratios are on it, how to play it, and the style of its matchups. It's really going to be a threat when it hits North America. It's going to be absolutely insane, but let's not talk any further. Let's just go into the deck list, which I think is actually talking further. First, starting off with the Doflamingo as usual with the loser. Again, pretty standard list. I think the only new thing that's really different than a lot of the other lists that we look at on these videos is playing 2 Gravity Blade Raging Tigers, right? This can be used for a lot of different reasons. Getting rid of 6 cost or less characters. This could be great for the mirror match, right? This can honestly be great into Blackbeard, putting away, you know, different pesky characters. The Jesus Burgess, even though it gains power based on the trash, it doesn't gain cost, so it is going to be able to be put away at any point. And even something like Purple Luffy, right, that we saw in the last round, being able to get rid of everything not named Luffy Taro pretty much in terms of the mid-range end, right, Onami blockers, the Zorojuro, Sangoro, Bonclays even. There's a lot of different characters that work with Gravity Blade Raging Tiger in a lot of different matchups. So gonna be really interesting. Again, that 1 Perfume Femur, not surprising. 2 Geckos. We've seen a lot of people jump off of Geckos from a 4 down to a 2 in both the East and the West. And then also the Peronas. I feel like sometimes we haven't seen Peronas in list. I can't remember what it was the last time, but this list opting for 3 of them. And here's the winning list, the Blackbeard. Blackbeard, I mean, I showed this list in the last video. It is just so good. If you want to see more games of Blackbeard, highly recommend checking out the playlist on the channel. I got a Fukuoka Wave 2 playlist that has all the games from this tournament. And, you know, I got playlists from all the other tournaments as well, and even a playlist of every single commentary video. But anyways, talk about more about the list. There's a lot of great synergies with this deck. Going second, a great play for playing something like Laboon in there. You've got other great plays, especially on a 2-Dawn turn, with not only playing the Dot Q, not that card, but also something like Lafitte. We didn't see it in this one, but in previous rounds we saw the importance of Lafitte being so good at being able to search, and even like a Vasco shot, right? Putting a 2-drop locker on the field, and plenty of other even cards as well, like Finger Gun, Finger Pistol, Liberation, both seeing play in this one. Jesus Burgess, a great card that I continue hyping up to no end. And then rounding it all out with the Big Kahuna, this card that I can't believe exists. More so shocked that they didn't give it 1k counter. The 10-drop Marshall D. Teach Blackbeard himself. Absolutely crazy, this deck. It's really cool to see. I think it's going to be really good in North America. I think a lot of people are going to pick this up. I'm very adamant on this once December hits, you know, once we start seeing the December regionals and nationals. This is going to be a force to reckon with. And I think simply because there's so many decks that run on play effects, it's going to be really tough for a lot of decks to power past something like Marshall D. Teach or Blackbeard. It's a crazy deck. We'll see if it continues running around in the championships or if something will dethrone it. My name is Jake. Thank you for joining me in this tournament. Apologies that these videos came out a little bit later, a little bit delay on them. Got sick and got busy with work, so just needed to relax a little bit, you know. But do not worry, there's more coming soon, as well as other ideas on the channel outside of the commentary, so I hope you join me for those when those come around. Thank you again so much, and again, join the giveaway if it's not the end of the day on Friday, November 15th for the OP09 booster box, courtesy of LA Gaming TCG, and we'll see you later.